Alright, hello guys. In this video we're going to be talking about that nor'easter that I talked about a few days ago. It's finally going to make its way into the Northeast and New England states by the time we arrive at Sunday the 24th. It's going to start making its way in and bring some snow to some of those areas up there, and that's mostly what we're going to be talking about in this video. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share it with your friends and family on Facebook and other social medias. Now let's get right into things. We are going to be looking at our GEM model, which is the Canadian model, and the reason I'm showing this model this time is because it shows something very similar to what the European model shows, and we're not technically allowed to show the European model and profit from our videos, so that's why we choose to usually not show the European model, but the Canadian model does have a very, very similar outlook here. Now you can see by the time we're in the middle of the night, Saturday the November the 23rd, but we will be early on Sunday the 24th by this point, maybe I would say about 2 a.m. by this point. You can see we have snow showers going on for Ohio and also upstate New York, Finger Lakes through some of those Catskills and areas like that receiving some snowfall by this point. Also notice there's moderate rain going on down there through the mid-Atlantic. Now as we move on to Sunday morning time, so maybe 9 a.m. here, 8 or 9 a.m. that is, you can see we have a developed low pressure system over Long Island there, a 995 millibar low pressure system. This one is very intense, and it's only going to intensify further as we continue to move on. But we can see in those mountains to the north of Albany, in the Green Mountains as well, so in between New York and Vermont, we have moderate snow beginning to occur. As we head on to our next frame, though, things are about to get very, very exciting as our low pressure system intensifies and we start to see more heavy snow falling. Alright, so you can see we do have moderate snow falling in between Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine by this point. Our low pressure system is a 989 millibar low pressure system there offshore of Cape Cod and Boston. This is bringing some heavier rains to Massachusetts, down through some of those mid-Atlantic coastal states, but really the heaviest of the rain is going to be for New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. We do see that heavier snow right near the mixing line, and it's going to be very interesting to see where this one sets up. This model seems to be more of a worst case scenario type outlook, and it seems to keep it really close to the coast, which would bring a lot of snow to the New England states. But if it's further offshore, which I'm going to show you later on, we would receive almost no snow. So that's going to be kind of what we have to deal with here. By the time we're at Sunday night, though, you can see that moderate to heavy snow has arrived mostly here for Maine by this point. Our low pressure system is a 984 millibar low pressure system, so it continues to intensify, and it's bringing heavy rain for coastal Maine and heavy snow for central Maine. Now, if there's a little bit further east, we see that heavier snow potentially closer to coastal Maine, and if it's a little bit further west, it's potentially further inland in far northern Maine and New Hampshire alike. That's going to, again, be another interesting thing we have to track throughout this one. As we head into late on Sunday, November 24th, nighttime, we see it's a 980 millibar low pressure system, so still intensifying, and we have heavier snow still for central Maine. And then by the time we're at morning time, Monday, November 25th, only moderate snow and light snow remains, and by the time we're at Monday night, it is all said and done. Alright, now we're about to compare some of the other models, see what the GFS is showing, as well as the NAM model here, and see where the placement is different and why it shows some solutions that are very far from what we just saw before. Now, first things first, we're looking at our GFS model here. You can see it does have a 980 millibar low pressure system, so they're definitely on the same page about the intensity here, but it is much further offshore of Cape Cod, Boston, and as well as coastal Maine, and this is going to lead to minimal amounts of snow, heavy rain there for Massachusetts, but really minimal snowfall throughout this storm here on the GFS, and all of these solutions are possible. It's just the Canadian and the European seem to be on the same page about what we saw before. And we're also going to move on to our more short-range model, the NAM, and you can see this one's even further offshore as a 984 millibar low pressure system, even further south, and you see no snow and no precipitation there for Maine. So very, very different solutions on the table here, and this is what I'm going to definitely need to make updated videos on, because I'm going to have to keep you guys up to date with what the models are showing for this one, and eventually we will reach a solution that we feel very confident in. Now we're about to look at our total snowfall on each of these models, which is going to be very exciting to see what the GEM, the Canadian model, shows. the GFS model, the American model, shows, and then the NAM model, which is the short-range American model, shows as far as snowfall. We'll look at all three now. All right, so obviously the Canadian model is going to have the most snowfall. You can see we have a general 3 to 6 inches of snow throughout interior northeast, basically. So in those lighter shades of blues, they almost look like a gray, whitish color. That's where we're seeing 2 to 4 inches of snow. And as it begins to turn purple, that's where we're seeing maybe 4 to 6 inches of snow. And in those pinks, that's where we're looking at 6 inches plus. There is some greens showing up. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't see us reaching that much snowfall, 24 inches. That's kind of ridiculous. But I do see the potential for close to 10 inches in Maine, given that we see the most potential snow here and it gives us the worst solution. Basically, we get the most intense storm and it's very close to the coast. This would give us the most potential snow and we could approach 10 inches, maybe a bit more, if the Canadian model solution seems to be correct. As we move on to the GFS model, obviously we take a significant step down in the snowfall totals, maybe milking out 3 inches of snow through the Catskills up there in the upstate New York area. We see in between Vermont and Massachusetts in some of those Berkshires there, maybe getting 3 inches as well. The White Mountains, you're maybe getting out 3 to 6 inches of snow from this one, but really Maine, not getting quite as much snow as the Canadian model showed, and by quite as much, I mean not getting any compared to a lot, which is what the Canadian model showed. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. Again, I'm going to be updating you guys on this storm because a lot could change and a lot could happen with this one. It has great potential. We'll just have to see. And then the NAM model is less snow and further south. Obviously, you saw that there was hardly any on the NAM model so far, and this model does not tend to do good in the long range. I want to add, I just wanted to show that this is the furthest south model, and I wanted to show how far south this could potentially go. And basically, this could be a no-show, or it could be a major snowstorm for New England, and that's where we're at right now. And it's only 3 days away, so we're going to have to start getting we're going to have to have some model agreements soon, basically. Now, we're about to get into our official snowfall forecast, but before I do that, I do want to show you the winds here. In my previous nor'easter video that I talked about this storm, I said that there was probably minimal amounts of wind. The wind does look a little bit more prevalent here. We see some yellows showing up for Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and as well as Nantucket, and this is a bit more than we saw before, and maybe even 20 to 28 mile per hour winds for Boston, some areas in Long Island. So coastal New England might get a bit more wind with this one than originally expected. I did want to mention that. All right, now we're about to get into our official snowfall forecast for this one, and this is high-end totals because I am siding with the Canadian and European model solution for now. But again, I will be updating this one. Keep up to date with the updates because that's where our final forecast will be for this one. But this is our current thoughts on the setup for this storm. Starting out with our white layer, this is our dusting the 3-inch layer. And you can see areas like Cleveland in a lot of those northern Ohio areas, western Pennsylvania, as well as some areas in mountainous West Virginia, expected to get at least a dusting of snow. I think there will be spotty accumulations within these areas. I wouldn't say consistent though. So if you're in this area, there's a chance you will see snow, and there's also a chance you will not see accumulation. But I am going to put you in the white area, basically as a warning that there's a good chance that there will be accumulations in some areas within there. Obviously, we have a dusting to 3 inches within upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine as well. I am holding off on coastal Maine for now as far as any accumulations. It seems like you guys will get a lot of rain and not a lot of snow whatsoever up there. Also, some mountainous regions of Massachusetts might get some snowfall as well to accumulate. Let's add our second layer here. This is our 3 to 6 inch layer. You can see to the areas to the west and north of Albany. We are expecting to get above 3 inches, as well as areas in central New Hampshire through central Maine. This is an area where we're expecting to see 3 to 6 inches, especially in the higher elevation areas within that light blue shade. Now, we even have a third layer here, and this is our 6 to 10 inch layer. I think somewhere within this central region of Maine and maybe even into the White Mountains there of New Hampshire, we will be receiving 6 to 10 inches of snow. Again, we saw that on the GEM model that they're showing high potential for above 10 inches of snow, and also the European model would agree with that statement. So we are going with the 6 to 10 inch layer here for a sliver of Maine. This could go further south, further north, further east, further west. It could be stronger, it could be weaker, and we're only 3 days out. The models are showing a variety of solutions, and I'm going to keep you guys up to date with the latest information on this storm, but this is our current thoughts on this one. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.